concede the loss. They've gone back to the ways of being a fake team and not real. Um, and Nico Estevez has moved on, and it's just time to run the gauntlet, just like we did the last one. What are your thoughts on the move? Do you think it was expected? Talk to me.
I mean, based on where they're sitting in the standings, I think it's hard to say that it's not expected. You're second to last in the Western Conference on 14 points. Only San Jose, who's absolute garbage, is behind you. So that's not saying much about being second to last as opposed to last. I do feel like he's a little bit hard done by this roster build because, I mean, the defense looks like a mess. Like they have, like, you look at the center backs, they have, and I know this is a little bit arbitrary because it's transfer market values, but they have one center back on the entire roster who has a market value above 500,000. Like even in this even in the salary cap era of MLS, that's so weak. And then in the other positions as well, it's like it's not necessarily bad, but I I mean there's just I feel like there was a lot more work to be done on this roster. That being said, there's still plenty of talent here, and I don't think he was getting what he needed out of this talent. I mean, you just brought in Musa for big money. You have Jesus Ferreira, who at his best is one of the best attackers in the league. You have Paul Arriola, who's an absolute veteran in this league. Kamungo, who absolutely exploded last year in limited minutes. So there's tons of talent in the team. So you can understand why they would move on from Nico Estevez when he has them second to last in the West. But I don't want to put full blame on him because I do think that this roster could have been built a little bit better.
Sure, yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at, right? The play style wasn't there. Their results weren't there. They had no identity. Injuries killed the team, no doubt, right? But the group, as you mentioned, you just listed off a whole bunch of players. I'm not even gonna dive into, but that group is quality enough that they shouldn't be at the bottom of that table. With the injuries, would flirting with the play-in game make sense? Yeah, but their roster is better than what they've got. And you actually listed pretty much everybody that I said. Like I said, the back line is a bit suspect, and we can agree on that. But you can teach a style of play and have everybody buy into being strong in defense and successful in transition for 2 months of gameplay until your injuries subside. And you can start playing the way you want to play again. Like that's something you can do, but it never happened. So my question to you is, what comes next, or who comes next? And here's the thing: I don't need a name if you don't want to give me a name.
Well, I'm
Maybe
definitely not going to give you. I couldn't even give you a name for Atlanta, so I'm not going to give you a name for Dallas.
that's right, because you don't prep like I prep.
Well, they also just don't have a real team. So how can I name a real manager if they don't
You're
have a
right.
real team?
Atlanta frauds.
I'm not talking about Atlanta. You know who I'm talking about. What happens next? I mean, I look at the roster and there needs like some work needs to be done in the summer window. So I think with that in mind, you got to get a new manager in before that point so they can have some input on who comes in. Uh, but I mean, outside of just the center backs, I look at the midfield as well. I see Alar Mendy, I see Sebastian Lletget, and then I have a lot of question marks after that point. If we're talking like 6-8 roles, I know Paxton's in there, but he's injured. He's also more of an attacker. But then it's like a couple of guys from North Texas, Patrickson Delgado and Liam Frazier. So I'm not exactly like wowed by what they have in the midfield as well. So there's work to do in the roster in this summer transfer window. And if they are going to commit to, replacing the guys that are injured or filling those vacancies in the team, then I think you got to go with a manager quickly so that you can have their input on it. Because I think bringing in players without a manager is potentially a recipe for disaster.
This team needs an identity. Like that's what comes next. They've got no idea what they're trying to do. It's disappointing. Whether it be transition, whether it be possession, wide play, gegenpress, whatever you want to do, they need to know what they who they are. So whoever comes in needs to have a clear and precise plan of action, whatever it may be. And of course, you'd love to see them go after somebody big and play some exciting, expansive football, whatever, right? I have a feeling it's going to be somebody up and coming, in the coaching world. That's kind of their MO. They don't really go for the big names. Matt Doyle outlined a potential move that I thought was really good, and it's New Mexico United's head coach Eric Quill, also FIFA '06 New York, New Jersey MetroStar legend. His resume is really good. He was in the FC Dallas, coaching academy system. He coached the second team for a while. He was able to ID Chris Richards and get him into the Dallas Academy before he went overseas. He was an assistant under Wilfred Nancy in Columbus, and now he's got New Mexico at the top of the USL Championship. He's got a clear-cut identity. He knows what he wants to get out of his players. And even if it means that they don't succeed necessarily right now, they now have a plan going forward saying, okay, our coach wants to play this style of play. These players either do it or they don't. Let's get players in who can do that. So I think he'd be a really good fit just based off of that quick outline. Or maybe you're looking at the next really good MLS Next Pro coach, right? Their MLS Next Pro team is top of the table right now in
that's what I was just looking at.
Both Group B and their and the table overall. So, I mean, you might not even need to go outside. Go outside. Always go outside. Touch grass. Breathe air.
Never.
But you might not even need to go outside your own group there. You've got a coach who understands what he's trying to do, and maybe that works for you. And who knows, right? So that's interesting.
I would be interested to see how the fans react to it, because I feel like if you're a fan, you may be looking for like a more marquee name-esque signing at the head coach spot. But this last offseason proved that a lot of teams went with the lesser known guys, I'm thinking like DC. I'm gonna forget what teams did it.
Because we didn't put out our thoughts on the coaching transfers with our player transfers, so we'll have to do that this offseason.
Somebody. Oh my God, I can't remember. Didn't somebody get like the Columbus Next Pro coach?
Yeah, that's Montreal.
Montreal, yeah. Okay, that's what I thought. So yeah, so some lesser known names, it wasn't even like recycled MLS managers or your Dean Smiths coming over from England. It was guys who haven't made the MLS name yet, and taking a chance on them. So wouldn't be surprised if they do go that route. I know we talked about North Texas head coach. I looked it up. It is John Gall, I believe. Don't quote me on that. That's what it looked like. But his LinkedIn lists him as an assistant coach, so I'm not 100% sure now.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, I got
such
LinkedIn.
A nerd.
That's the only thing that came up other than an article from Dallas. So if we're gonna talk about him, I'd rather name him correctly, John Gall. But yeah, we'll see. Maybe they'll monkey wrench it and just bring in somebody out of nowhere from Europe.
Did you read the Third Degree .net article?
No.
So John Gall stepped up to the FC Dallas bench, and there's another guy coming in to take over the Next Pro side. So Peter Lucen is taking over head coaching job at Dallas, it seems, and John Gall is the assistant coach. So who knows?
Well, we'll just cut out everything I just said.
So here's a question. Can FC Dallas come back right now? Is there a chance to rebound?
Of course they can. Come on, this is MLS. You have 9 teams making the playoffs in each conference. They have more than enough time to make a run and get into the playoffs. There's teams right now, multiple teams right now that have been on 5+ game winning streaks. If Dallas can do the same thing, I almost guarantee you they will be in the playoffs. So if you're a Dallas fan, relax. There's plenty of time to turn this around. Yes, you're probably out of the supporter shield race, but that's all right. That's the less important trophy anyway. Just get hot at the right time, and you could go win MLS Cup.
Listen, just because I left the state doesn't mean that you get to change your mind all willy-nilly because I can't beat you up now.
I've always stuck by MLS Cup's the better cup.
And you've always been wrong. Look at that. Um, Listen, yeah, I don't think they're down and out yet, but I do think it's tougher for them to get in than Atlanta, right? If they can just stay in it until their injuries heal, I think they're okay. But until they get that clear identity of what they want to do, I think they'll be in a bit of trouble. They're a little bit under halfway through the year. They're 7 points off of Portland with 2 games in hand. It's not crazy to think that they could put a few good performances together, but um, they need to do that quickly because the longer they wait, the more that gap widens. So